After Ryan Day took the play calling privileges for one game and went 0-1 in the 2025 season, there was some speculation as to whether or not he would hold on to those play calling privileges or would he seek a play caller, a true blue offensive coordinator, not unlike Brian Hartline was in 2025 or Chip Kelly was in 2024, to try to get Ohio State back to the national championship game. And feels like there are two leaders in the clubhouse. Let's talk about who they are. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching Adapt and Respond, thank you for joining us here. We talk college football year-round. If you're into that, hit that subscribe button, like this video, answer the question in the comments below. Do you believe that Ohio State needs an offensive coordinator? And if you do you like former New York Giants head coach Brian Daboll or Ravens offensive coordinator Todd Monken for the job? This news has really accelerated because John Harbaugh was very much the head coach at the time when I was certain Todd Monken was in the running for this. Todd Monken was also in the running for the head coach job at Michigan, ultimately went to Kyle Whittingham. Looks like he's knew that if the season didn't go into the playoffs, that everybody's going to be out of a job. And that's exactly what happened. After 18 seasons, John Harbaugh is no longer the head coach in Baltimore. Really going to be the end of an era. Also going to mean that there are a number of head coaches positions that he's open for. Atlanta, the Vegas Raiders, Cleveland Browns. Like, you keep going down the list. John Harbaugh is going to be a guy that everybody wants to interview. And if he wants to be a coach in the NFL next year, he'll have that opportunity. Putting together the staff again, we'll see. Would Todd Monken be a part of that staff? Would Brian Daboll be a part of that staff? These are interesting questions, right? Monken, who had experience as an offensive coordinator leading Georgia to a national championship, and Daboll, who has experience as an offensive coordinator at Alabama leading them to a national championship. Both these guys are pretty good candidates. They're also, very interested in other jobs. Brian Daboll, for instance, is interested in the Las Vegas Raiders job, and it feels like they're interested in him. With the Raiders getting the number one pick in the draft and needing a quarterback, feels like they might turn the franchise over to a guy like Fernando Mendoza, which means you need to get a coach that wants to coach Fernando Mendoza and is going to react to Fernando Mendoza the way that you'd need to when you're handing over the CEO job to one of the most capable quarterback candidates in recent memory, from his MBA at Cal to the way in which he is articulate and nuanced and detailed in each and every one of his interviews. It's a guy I think everybody wants to coach, honestly. Brian Daboll's style has been to, really get after his quarterbacks when they're not necessarily playing well, but also he's groomed some pretty great ones. Like, he's the guy that said, I want Tua Tagovailoa in the second half of 2018 national championship, where Bama comes back to beat Georgia. He's also the guy that turned Josh Allen into the absolute stud that he became over the years. Like, he went from a really tooly quarterback, when we've seen a number of those guys, to one of the NFL's predominant and best quarterbacks, period. All because he recognized the skill set that Allen had, and he said, we're going to lead with this. You have an ability to not just outrun people, but they bounce off of you, and you can throw the football 1,000,000 miles an hour and 1,000,000 yards. Let's do something with this. If that's what you are looking to get for Julian Sayin, cool. I enjoy that. I also think that there's a lot to look at Julian Sayin and that you like. When he's been able to get the ball out on time and in under 2 seconds, he's been phenomenal. It's the offensive line and its protection where he really needed some help. And that's where Tylan Bowen's going to have to do a lot of work in the offseason, both in the transfer portal and in development of the talent they already have at Ohio State. Now, this all falls back on Ryan Day, who has already showed that he's a really good judge of talent for his coaching staff. I don't think there's a miss at all, period. Chip Kelly comes in, you win the national championship. Brian Hartline gets elevated. You play for the Big Ten championship, something you didn't do last year. You get back to the national semifinal. You get Cortez Hankin to come in and be the wide receivers coach, who was great at LSU, helped turn those guys into studs. Carlos Lachlan at running backs coach. Matt Patricia, Jim Knowles. It took a while with Jim Knowles, but win the national championship. Matt Patricia turned out the best scoring defense in all of college football. Did they get beat by Miami? Sure. They get beat by Indiana? Absolutely. Both of those teams continue to play football into the postseason, though, and I think that's interesting. And if Indiana and Miami end up in the national championship game, once again, we have a Big Ten team with the dubious honor of having its only 2 losses come to the teams that played in the national championship. Now, that happened to Indiana last year. All they have done is respond with the number 1 ranking, taking it from Ohio State in the Big Ten championship and looking like the absolute leader to win the national championship 2025, perhaps head into 2026 as the number 1 team in the country. It's a team that never had a number 1 ranking, period, until this season, and had not won a bowl game at all since the 91 Copper Bowl. It's been a remarkable turnaround, the best turnaround in all of college football history, and we're getting front row seats to seeing it. I'm going to the Peach Bowl to cover Indiana, Oregon. I'm excited about that. Been really high on what Fernando Mendoza's been capable of, and I am very excited about what Kurt Cignetti still has in front of him, to say nothing of his coordinators, Mike Shanahan and Bryant Haynes. The talent that they're bringing in, Nick Marsh, for instance, Josh Hoover being another. They're going to get better and better. What's been really cool to watch is how they have adapted to the portal and name, image, and likeness, not unlike Ohio State. So when I look at the Buckeyes and I ask the question, which one of these guys would help me the most, it really does depend on what it is that Ryan Day's looking to do. We know that Todd Monken's been able to make it happen with guys like Stetson Bennett at the college football level, and Stetson Bennett is nobody's number 1 overall pick, and Lamar Jackson at the NFL level, who's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. He can make it work with whoever you got. With Julian Sayin, I think he's going to get the first pure passer that he's been able to coach in some years. By pure passer, I don't mean that Lamar Jackson isn't. I mean, Julian Sayin is not running away from people. Lamar Jackson can run away from people. Lamar Jackson is the best passer of the football with 4.2 speed that anybody's ever seen. And I don't say that to say that Lamar Jackson is any less of a quarterback. He's a better quarterback than most of the people that have ever played the position. But to qualify him in the same context as Julian Sayin is just insane. Julian Sayin is a tier below Lamar Jackson. Let me be clear about that. I would much rather have Lamar Jackson's skill set at quarterback than Julian Sayin's skill set at quarterback. But if the point is to develop the guy into a passer, Brian Daboll can do both of those things, right? He did that with Tua Tagovailoa, who ain't running away from people. He also had Jalen Hurts, who is running away from people. He did that with, I mentioned Josh Allen, who can run away from people and who can outthrow people. This is going to be really cool to watch. Now, the other thing to take into account here is Tavian St. Clair, who is the heir apparent to the job when Julian Sayin probably enters the 2027 NFL draft. These are all things you got to be thinking about if you are the Buckeyes, and I sincerely think that Ryan Day is. Let me know in the comments below what you think.